Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Hello, podcast listeners. I am your host, Catherine Basu, and today's episode of the Fit 15 is one in a mini-series I am running in honor of the 1-year anniversary of my book being published. If you're new here and haven't heard about the book, I highly recommend you go back first to episode 000 and then possibly to the intro episode for this mini-series to learn more about the book, but also in episode 000 more about the show itself and what I have planned for you and how you can help me with my goal of making this podcast your show as well as mine. But since today's episode is going to run a little longer than my goal of 15 minutes for most episodes, I definitely want you to check it out if that's all you have time for today, and it definitely can stand alone as well. Basically, this episode, just like the others in this series, are very similar in design to the interviews I shared and the inspiration I shared in my book. Just as in the book, I am talking to successful women who are not working in the fitness industry, but who find a benefit personally and professionally from choosing to add movement to their busy days. And so they're going to share why they have that benefit, how they fit fitness in, and also to help you take action as soon as today, they're going to be sharing a fun fitness challenge with you in the form of a fitness dare. So highly encourage you to take action on that. Make sure you stay tuned towards the end of the interview for that challenge that's being posed to you today from today's guest. Wanted to just briefly mention though, for those of you who are new or maybe forgot, if you want to learn more about the book or grab your own copy, you can definitely find copies of the book anywhere books are sold. But I also invite you to go over to fitarmadillo.com/books. Once you're there, you can see if I have some hardback copies still in stock. I'm happy to sign and personalize a copy for you or a lucky friend if you order from my website. And you can also find upcoming book tour dates. So I am going to be out promoting the book the next few months, and I would love to meet you in person and chat with you and share some inspiration with you. If you check out those dates and don't see a public event at some of the locations where I'm going to be, and you live in one of those locations or would be willing to travel to one of those locations and want to meet up for coffee or have a small group that you would like to have me speak to and share inspiration from the book with, or from my personal journey, whether that's my fitness journey, my entrepreneurial journey, or even my author journey, I'm more than happy to see if I can make that work for my schedule. So definitely feel free to reach out. Check out that book page, fitarmadillo.com/books, for where I'm going to be and to get your signed hardback copy of the book if you would like to do that and aren't able to meet me in person this time. All right, so today's guest, very special guest on the Fit 15 today. She is Amy Cochrane, and she is the founder of the company Momentum Jewelry. You might have heard of Momentum Jewelry before because they have this great Share the Spark campaign, but if not, I'll share a little bit more about the company, and then I'm really going to have Amy herself share more about how and why she founded the company, because we had a really good conversation on that. And for those of you who are like me and Amy and are entrepreneurs, I think you'll really get a lot of value out of hearing more about Amy's story from Amy herself. But to sum it up, Amy's background is in public health. She has a master's in public health from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. She now lives in St. Paul, Minnesota with her husband and 2 daughters. Before starting Momentum Jewelry, which she founded in order to create and produce the highest quality, handcrafted, inspirational, athletic jewelry around, where products are made in the USA with pride and care, she had a different jewelry business where she created handcrafted pieces and had that for 20 years. So her company, Momentum Jewelry, has been something that's allowing her to combine her passions for working out, health and wellness, creativity, and her need to spread a message of encouragement and positivity with others. So really excited to have Amy as a guest. Amy, welcome to the show. Would love to have you share your story of Momentum Jewelry with our listeners.
It's kind of like how I was talking about this collision of these interest areas that I've always had, things that are important in my life. And, it's like this creativity part of mine. I've always had my hands on some sort of project, whether it was, throwing pottery or making Ukrainian eggs or designing gigantic glass mosaics. And I had another jewelry company for about 20 years before I started this one, but I would go to like craft fairs, things like that. So they were more one-of-a-kind art pieces. So I've always had to create things. And then my background is actually in public health. So I have a master's in public health. I was doing research very part-time at the University of Minnesota in the diabetes research project. So I've always been interested in the health field.
Sure.
And that's a little bit more on sort of the analytical research part of my brain. And then I also really like to work out. Exercise is super important to me. I grew up in a really active family.
Mm-hmm.
I was, Nordic skiing, long distance cycling, hiking, canoeing from a really young age. I think they're always like, oh yeah, you did your first 100 miles when you were 10. And I'm like, really? But so it was like a very active family. And that's what I spent my childhood. And I was kind of an unwilling participant when I was younger, but it was just what we did as a family. But as I got older, I just craved the exercise and the fitness for, my mental sanity. And it just, when I'm exercising, I always feel like just the most, you feel more powerful, more creative, like my subconscious, I have a busy brain. And so it's very noisy. It's always going. And when I'm exercising, like all those thoughts and ideas and creativity can kind of come to the surface because I finally am able to just kind of turn it off. And so I think, growing up, being active was really important in terms of, my self-esteem and feeling like I could overcome hardships. I mean,
Are you tuning in while getting a move on with us and only have 15 minutes to spare? That is your cue to turn around now. We are halfway through 15 minutes of the podcast.
Certainly had a lot of challenges at a pretty young age, doing some pretty epic, longer distance cycling, Nordic skiing, things like that. And I feel like that kind of when you have to, bike through the Canadian Rockies and haul everything on your bike for a week, you kind of get used to pulling on your reserves and knowing that you can do hard things. And I think that kind of relates then to the rest of your life, right? When you're at work or in relationships or whatever, you can handle it. So those things were, that's part of my life is when my kids were younger, I pushed them in the double baby jogger like forever. I loved that. That was great. Once they went to school, I started going to the gym a lot because that's where my friends were and it was a social time. And I loved the really supportive, encouraging environment that was there. I think I was really lucky. We had awesome instructors and this great community of people that I just was like, I love this. I'm happy. It's just my happy time. You look forward to it. And I knew that I am a little bit of an introvert. Getting up on that stage and being an instructor was just not for me. I love that they, it was, for them, the fitness was a positive, happy, uplifting, sort of collective experience. But I was like, I cannot be that person on the stage providing that for people and guiding people. But, how else can I use my talents, what I know how to do, to kind of support and encourage and motivate other people? And it was literally, doing a plank at the gym, looking at my blank wrist, and I was like, oh my gosh. It was like, oh my gosh, I just need to channel Amber's voice. I could stamp it and so then it was just sort of like a race trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? And like I said, I had a jewelry company, but they were one-of-a-kind sort of pieces and not anywhere on the scale of what I thought would be the potential for momentum. So, I had a lot of people who could help me. My husband's a computer programmer, so I'm like, honey, I need a website. And my friend helped me with the designs and the manufacturing and photography. And just, I just took sort of that leap of faith and started doing like fitness conventions and different things to see if there was a market. And it was like, oh my gosh, people loved it. And so then it was just a matter of putting in a lot of hours and a lot of effort to kind of get it off the ground. When you're bootstrapping something like that, it's just your time. So
Right.
yeah, stamping at the kitchen table, Mom, when's dinner going to be ready? And I'm like, bom, 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 and everybody, my husband's helping me make stuff. I mean, it was like, everybody on deck helping with this, but it just sort of, part of the fun, or it gained momentum. It was like, I could just sort of build it. And I think with the timing was right with like, internet and social media, being able to be a small company that still gets seen. I mean, it's now been over 5.5 years, and, I sell around the world, and it's awesome. Sometimes, my husband will be like, oh my gosh, you just sold something to Japan, whatever. And it's like,
Oh, wow.
It's so cool to me to think that our product, it crosses, it crosses into different continents, language and cultural. It's like, there are people all around the world who know that, mantras matter, that, sort of this positive self-talk and keeping that sort of close by is something that really does help you. And it helps you in that, your workout, it helps you all day. And so it's so cool to see it spread like that. But I really think it was just sort of this combination of my different interest areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've felt like this, I don't know, just sort of like, you don't know which way the path is going to go. And, you go down some paths and you're like, whoa, that's wrong. And then, it's not a straight line,
Yes,
and,
like that
and
quote
at
from
every,
Steve Jobs, right? He has a quote like that. It's hard to
yes,
connect the dots going forward. You have to do it going backwards, I think is something like that.
and it's totally true. And you look back and you're like, well, of course. And I was saying, it's kind of like raising kids. I mean, when you first have that baby, I mean, it's like this whole future ahead of you. You have no idea. And what's right? How do you parent the right way? And sometimes it's easy and you're like, feel like a complete stud and awesome person. And then sometimes it's really hard. And when it's really hard, you just go, oh, like all the effort that you put into it and unknowns, it's kind of daunting. So that's been sort of my struggle is, just believing in myself and my vision enough and trusting the path enough to just continue when it does get hard. And it's like, wow, okay, here we are, blink your eyes. And we're 5 years in and we have, a solid group of ambassadors around the country and actually around the world. And,
Yeah.
And hopefully, inspiring and motivating and encouraging people and sort of just being a part of that more positive, uplifting community feel. That's what I really like and feel very fortunate to have this group of ambassadors that's also sort of putting that message out there, because it's like then you can have this sort of ripple effect where you're touching so many more lives than you could just do as an individual. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I love how you shared me. I often ask people, because I do talk to a lot of entrepreneurs since I'm an entrepreneur myself, but I often ask, has adding fitness or having fitness as part of your routine impacted yourself personally and professionally? And it's wonderful how you have that story of just being in that gym class, and that's when the inspiration actually hit. So it's a great example.
Yeah, and the fitness and that more healthy active lifestyle is at the core of momentum and why I started, because I really believe that it does such a good for people, not just in their bodies but their minds. I know that when my girls were young, I feel like why am I so cranky today? And I'll be like, oh, I didn't go on my run. Oh, that's
Right.
fine. And it's like, give mommy a run in the morning. And I'm just like, woo, much more relaxed and can go with the flow. And, I've been fortunate to have a flexible schedule to be able to advantage of like my favorite 9:30 class at the gym. Yes, I got up at 4 a.m. to get like 4 hours of work in before I went to the gym, but I'm lucky that I can kind of have a flexible schedule. But it is hard, I think, and you probably see this too as an entrepreneur. I mean, it's very hard to shut it down and to turn it off and to
Right.
say, well, that's as much as I'm going to get done today, because the list is never ending. My to-do list, well, I have a number of them, and sometimes I just give up on them and start over. It's like 50 pages long, and I'm
I'm the
not
same way.
joking. It's like, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. And that's mental clutter in my head that I'm like, oh, I didn't get to. And I've spent quite a number of years sort of beating myself up over the things that are still undone. And I just now this year, it's my focus to just congratulate myself on the things I finish and just for the undone ones, I'll get to them sometime. And sort of change the way I think about it, because it was a losing battle before, and I was kind of making myself miserable. And then what happens is you go, you know what? I'm not going to go to the gym because, if I can just get this one more thing done. And then I'm thinking, okay, Amy, if you have like a company that's supposed to promote people to and to help people live active, healthy lives, you are not supposed to be at the computer skipping your gym class. Like, that's how awful is that? That's terrible. So I really try, and of course there are times here or there, but I really try to get that workout in every day. Sometimes it's got to be at night, sometimes it's morning, whatever, but it makes such a big difference. I'm more productive and I'm happier, and it's the one thing that I do for myself. And so I fight pretty hard for that. And it's also interesting because now my girls, I started this when they were, oh boy, how old were they? 12 and 14, something like that. And now they're 17 and 19.
Oh,
So,
wow.
those really, critical teenage years, and they're both girls. And I'll hear them say to me, Mom, just go to the gym. You'll feel so much better. And it's like, oh my gosh, like they know the lesson, we all know this, and it's so easy to get swept up in whatever's happening in the day. But if they know that 45 minutes, hour, whatever you have to work out, to take time for yourself, what a difference that makes in your day and your mood and everything. I'm like, that's a huge takeaway lesson that I think they will, keep in their life and remember that, because, everybody's life is so busy and so crazy. But I really feel like it's important to sort of carve that out and make it sacred and not let anything take it away for too long.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they definitely will follow in your footsteps. I feel like kids, I don't have any of my own yet, but, I've worked with clients who do, and then I was a classroom teacher for a while. And one thing I noticed is that, kids just really learn from what you do versus what you tell them to do. So, especially since they already pick up on how that helps you, right? So.
Yeah, right. So I hope so.
So, Amy, wondering if you have any advice for someone listening who might say that, obviously they hear how you're pretty busy, but you still find a way to fit fitness in because you feel it has a benefit, but maybe they haven't gotten started yet themselves. Do you have any advice for someone who just feels like they're way too busy, like they don't have time to do this? What would you tell someone that was saying that?
Well, I think my advice, and I think for a lot of people that I've met that haven't gotten into routine, or like they don't make it a priority, they don't feel that they've felt the benefits from it yet. And I think it has to go from like, okay, this is important, I'm going to do it, to like a habit, to where you don't even question it. It's a non-negotiable. Because it's so easy. It's easy for me to be like, oh, I can't because of blah, 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 to, every day there's going to be something. And unless you really guard that space and say, this is a non-negotiable, it has to get done. And then I think that once you do that enough, then you start to get into this cycle where it's like, how much better you feel when you get your workout in. You know how much more productive you are through the rest of the day. you know how much happier it makes you feel, how better you sleep, just like all these things. And I'm not talking about like, oh, and now we're, gonna run a 50-mile trail run. It doesn't have to be for
Right.
incredible athletic feats or anything. It's just a routine. Maybe it's that walk outside every day for half an hour. But if you just force yourself for a while to pretend it's non-negotiable, and then once you get into the habit and feel the difference, then you will have to do less in terms of fighting against that little voice in your brain that's like, oh, but the couch is so comfortable, and oh, I have too much to do. And sometimes it's the mantras, right? Like my husband and I I was in grad school and he was working. So you'd be gone all day, and when you're in class or at work, you're like going, oh, I cannot wait to go running. That's when I'm sitting. Oh, it's going to feel so good. And as soon as you walk to that door, you just want to melt on the couch and turn on the television, and you're just like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm hungry. And so we had a sign in our little apartment that said, don't think, don't eat, just run. And that was our deal, is that you couldn't think about it. It wasn't a choice. You put on your shoes, you go running, and then you can go sit on the couch or do whatever. But it was like that run, it just perked you back up, and then you're like, oh, I feel so much better. And I know that if we didn't have that, it would have been easy to kind of, somebody says, well, wouldn't it be nice just to order some Chinese takeout? And the next person's like, oh, yeah. So it was like the sign, it spoke to both of us. We're like, oh, gotta obey the sign. And so, yeah, we stamp a lot of those for people where they're just like, don't think, just do it. Like, I guess that's Nike. I don't know if we probably haven't stamped that one. But, it's just little reminders to just kind of keep yourself on track.
Yeah. Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask if you had a quote or mantra you live by. I don't know if there's any others. So that's maybe to get you to get moving when you get home from a long day, but anything else, and especially since you have all those quotes and mantras for Momentum Jewelry.
I know.
Your favorite.
I know, it's really hard. They do change. For a long time, it was dream big was my thing, because Momentum obviously was this dream of mine. And all this time, investing all this money, just my heart and soul into it. And it was like about this dream. And, it's hard to give yourself permission to do that, right? It's risky. I'm not, at other jobs, bringing in money for the household. Luckily my husband's been really supportive of it, but it's like, it's a risk. It's a leap of faith that you're taking. It may or may not, pay off. It may or not, but, now 5 years down the line, I can say, oh my gosh, I have learned so much. That, that education itself is priceless. So, but, Dream Big was really big. Today I'm wearing Make It Happen.
Love that.
I love that one. And it's just like, you know what, get it done. Because it's a Monday and I'm kind of feeling like, okay, I've got this wall of to-dos and I'm going to make it happen today. And then recently I've been liking the Be Awesome today, because I kind of feel like, I can go work out and feel awesome. And then I can just do my other things. It's kind of a happier, bring joy. I want to be doing the work that I do, have it make it feel like it's kind of fun, right? Nobody likes to just send out emails all day, but I'm like, I get to interact. Yeah, but I get to interact with like different companies and different people who are doing great things in this sphere. And so it is, that part is kind of cool, I think, to be able to be a part of that.
No, of course. Well, I love that, and you have access to any mantra you can try different ones on since you have all of them, and then you guys also do like custom ones as well, right? So that's
we do, and actually I did have one custom one. I can't remember. It was something like slow down and smell the roses, or something around those lines. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, I could wear it for about half a day, and then I was like, you can't tell me how to be, and I had to take it off, and I gave it to a friend. I was like, it was not for me. It made me angry. I was like, no. So yeah, it really, I think, when we used to do events a lot more, and I'd be at a booth and people would come up and they would be reading through the different sayings, and this would happen at least once at every event. Somebody would start to cry. You know, they'd see something, and that was the one that just like spoke to them. And, you know, they would tell me the story, and I'd just be like, oh my gosh, and, you know, I give them a hug. And I mean,
Yeah.
they really, when it sort of hits you, you know which one is yours.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So wondering, Amy, if you have an action step to dare our listeners to try something that could help them, you know, take
Ooh.
action in their fitness routine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Get them
Well, you know,
going.
I get them going. Well, here I am in Minnesota. So I'm looking out at like a foot or so of snow, and I think it's only like 0 degrees today. I don't know. It's really cold. I was going to say that, you know, having been raised a skier, if you live in a Nordic country with snow, or state, sorry, or country, who knows who's listening, get out there in the winter. Like, if skiing scares you, try snowshoeing. You're out in the woods. The air is so crisp and fresh, and the sky will be blue, and you're moving, so you'll stay warm, except for if it's like 20 below, and you will see the winter differently, and you will enjoy the season, and you'll actually go like, oh my gosh, I hope it's a good snow year, because, you know, skiing is like my favorite sport. And so, like, not everybody has access to snow, but, you know, a lot of Minnesotans are just like, oh, I hate the winter, it's awful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, get outside. So that's a huge thing for me to recommend to people, is just get out. And you know, of course you dress in layers, but, you know, you do stay warm because you're moving and you're active.
Right.
And I think I think that in last June, I did the little run streak thing, which I'd never done before. It doesn't have to be a run streak, but the idea would be to do anything for like 30 days. So if it's a walk over your lunch break, if it's and so it's raining, doesn't matter, you have to do it, you know, like whatever, it doesn't. So, and because I feel like something about that, like, I realized that, oh my gosh, okay, all I have to do is run 1 mile for 30 days. And even if, I think it was like my daughter's graduation, we got home, it was really late, I was exhausted, and I was like, oh, I didn't do my run. But, you know, what does it take me? Like 10, 11 minutes to go run a mile.
Right.
And I totally had time to do that. And so it was more about this being consistent, not letting any excuse come in the way, and getting it done. And it actually was kind of exciting and fun. And then as you sort of build, you know, and you're into it a week, 2 weeks, you're like, yeah, like, look it. I mean, it becomes sort of part of your life. And maybe it's a way to sort of get over the hump of this, oh, I don't have time or whatever.
Right.
Or I forgot. I mean, you can do it at any time. So it could be anything. Maybe it's a at-home yoga program that you watch, or whatever it is. But do it for 30 days, and then you might find that you've got a little bit more time in there than you thought.
Yeah, building that habit, right? Like we were talking about before. Yep. So you can see the actual benefits. Like, you actually see that even though you're spending some time getting moving, you might get that back on the other end when you're able to enjoy more productivity because you're more focused when you have gotten moving for the day.
Yeah. Well, and like with my daughter's graduation, I mean, I was like so tired, and then I was like, oh no. But I went, and then I came back, and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better now. I mean, it was just enough to, you know, get you go kind of back to feeling not just drained from the other sitting through a graduation ceremony.
Right? No, it's awesome. Well, Amy, I know you've shared so much inspiration. I don't know if you have any last like parting pieces of inspiration. It doesn't have to be fitness related that you want to share with listeners.
Oh boy. Oh man. The pressure. You know, for me, the other piece that is like a big thing I realize is I'm a social exerciser, and I know a lot of people aren't, so that's totally fine too. But you know, I grew up with my family doing sports together, so the whole, you know, canoe trip that you take for 4 days, or the you know, the bike trip, the ski trip, or different things, it was an experience that we shared together. And so when I have my kids, that's what we've done, you know, and it's like, it's become sort of, it's a tradition almost, and great memories and times. And then, you know, the friendships that you make, you know, with your running buddies, your workout buddies, and having that with your family members, I think this makes it for me, it's really special. And it feels right. Like today, I mean, I probably could go out skiing, but it's like, oh, but my family isn't here. And
Right,
so
right.
it's something that, and maybe that helps too for people to stick with a routine and to make it happen if you've got that social and that bonding element. I think it just adds so much more value to it, and that's been important for me. So I don't know. That
No,
might
it's
be
awesome.
my last piece of advice.
I love it. I mean, that's how I got into fitness. I really was not interested in it at all because gym class
Yeah.
was my first experience with fitness, but my dad was a runner, and so
Uh-huh.
he made it seem cool, and we started running together when I was in middle school, and that's kind of how I
Oh,
got into it. So definitely like that
yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah, that's so great. And and you have that time together that, is really, like, it's so special
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bonded by endorphins.
Yes, I like that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, thank you, Amy,
Awesome.
so much for all your inspiration and sharing, your fitness story, and then also
Yeah, it was,
your business journey. I mean, it's really cool to kind of see behind the scenes. So definitely want people to check out Momentum Jewelry. Can you share just where they can find you and anything exciting you have going on they should know about?
we always have fun stuff coming up. Okay, so I'm momentumjewelry.com, and we are launching our spring summer collection March 1st. So that's
Oh,
really
wow.
soon.
Yep,
And
yep.
yeah, I'm super excited because we have some new things that I think people really like. I like them. I got them just the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so cool. So I'm excited about that. I love new stuff coming in. Our new hats that we're launching on Tuesday. What else do we have? Oh, Share the Spark, I believe, will be coming back in April. So that's my
Awesome.
program where I give all of my ambassadors free bracelets, and they are supposed to give them to people to encourage, inspire. So it's anybody they meet at the gym, at the office, at Costco, wherever they are. If they, feel like they want to pass it off to somebody and share it with them, that's for them to do. So, and we'll also have it on the website for special price and everything. So, yeah, we got some good stuff coming up.
Love that. So best way, maybe everyone should go to the website and well, follow you on Instagram, but also maybe get on your newsletter for all the updates so they're not missing out.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Amy. It's been really fun chatting with you, and yeah, excited to keep following along and see what else is coming to Momentum in the spring,
Yeah, well,
especially.
yeah, thanks for thinking with me, and good luck to you as you continue to interview people. I love how you get different perspectives, and you're helping people along the way. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hey, it's Catherine. I snuck back on the podcast because I wanted to just check in. Don't you think that was an amazing and inspirational interview? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did and hearing Amy's fitness story, some inspiration from her fitness challenge for you, and also learning more about her entrepreneurial journey. I know you know someone who would love to hear this episode and to hear about Amy's story, so make sure you share the episode with whoever that might be. Maybe it's an entrepreneur, maybe it's someone who is looking to start a fitness journey, or maybe it's someone who is a fitness professional that might want to be one of Amy's ambassadors in the future. I know I have loved that experience myself. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I hope you will subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Don't forget to leave us a rating, that really helps us a lot. And of course, to accept Amy's fitness challenge, her Fitting in Fitness Dare, you can find our links in the show notes to make sure you can tag us and let us know how you are doing and progressing as you take on that fitness challenge. Thanks so much for listening. I will chat with you tomorrow. Bye.